And we are live for episode 8, part 2 with Simon Briggs. Now, I'm just going to bring him straight on and we will get straight into it. Hello again, mate.
Hi, mate. How you doing?
I'm doing very, very well. So, we're going to get straight into it. And the first thing I need to kind of cover is your brother Carl. So, I'm going to tell you a little story. So, straight after I was chatting with Dan, and I realized that I'm the biggest idiot in the world because I know Carl very, very well. You know, when I was 18, I arrived in Europa Park, my second show, and I walked into the skater's house, and I met him and his girlfriend at the time. And I remember thinking, God, like she's really tall, and he's got a load of hair. And I went back to Katie, one of the skaters. I said, God, I've just met a couple of skaters. I'm like tall and hair. And that's how immature I was at 18. I nicknamed Carl Hair and Lindsay Tall. I mean, what an idiot. But like Carl, for me, you know, I grew up without a father. I never had a father figure in my life. And it was almost like having a bit of a father there because I was 18. I looked about 10. Like it's insane. So yeah, it was a good influence on me. Took me to the gym the first time, which was really, really good. Although I remember, I think I hurt my back, not because of him, just because, you know. So yeah, so it was, yeah, Carl and I are good friends. Saw him a while ago in Hamburg. And yeah, Carl, if you're watching this, I'm sorry I forgot about you, mate. But it was, you know, when I think back, I remember he would talk about his brothers, you know, in Sunderland and, you know, Briggs, blah, 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 blah. How the penny didn't drop when I've been researching and looking into Zing. I'm like, it's just funny.
Well,
But
it dropped in the end, didn't it? It dropped
yeah,
in the end.
yeah, thank God. Thank God. Can't wait to have a beer with you, Carl, if you are watching. Anyway, so we're going to pick up with coaching before we get into the move to Dundee. So, what is the best piece of advice you've ever been given?
Oh. So let's jump right in there then, I guess.
Boom.
I mean, as a skater, best piece of advice, best piece of advice. I mean, you
How
see,
many
it's
beers have you
all
had,
about the
Simon?
ice. It's all about the ice. Advice, ice.
Yeah, I know.
Anyway, best piece of advice. There's probably a few that stick in my mind, and you throw that at me, and I guess remember you're there for yourself. I was always told you're there for yourself. Go and skate for yourself. You're not there to please anyone else. And I use that as a coach as well. But you know, you're not there to please anyone else. That was the one thing that really stuck in my head was, you know, you go out, enjoy what you're doing for you, and don't think to yourself, oh, if I don't do that, my dad's going to be mad or my mom's going to be mad or you know, it doesn't matter, you know, whoever it is, you're there for you. Go out, skate for you, and enjoy it for you because you know it's a whole team. But at the end of the day, you need to enjoy it. So as a skater, that's probably the one thing I would say. As a coach, kind of flipping it into coaching styles, I think I'd say one of the biggest things is trust your gut. You know, like when you're making decisions, you know the decisions. Trust your gut feeling. Go with your gut feeling. There is no magic wand out there. If someone's not landed a triple flip in the last 10 run throughs, chances are they're not going to land a triple flip when it comes to the competition. You know, when you're making decisions, trust your gut feeling. You okay there, mate? You're making me a bit seasick. Keep moving
I'm
around.
just going to sort the lighting out in there a little bit.
Oh. You know, still on the coach because obviously I'm more into coaching now, and you know, as time goes on and you remember things, and you know, be honest with the athlete. Remember, the athlete only gets one chance. You know, I think it was my dad that told me, you know, remember, you don't know everything. No one knows everything. Last couple of things I'd like to mention on that really is that, you know, people will move on. Skaters will move on. So as any coaches out there, athletes will move on. That's par for the course. You know, they will move on, and your family won't. They'll always be there. So, you know, at the end of the day, family's there, and you need their support as well. And that's been key to me. So you need the support of the family. Athletes will do what they do, and you do the best for them. But ultimately, at times, they will move on. And then the last point is a guy who used to manage in Dundee, actually, one of the managers we've had, and we've been lucky with a lot of managers. And this guy, Jack Driver, his whole family was involved in skating. And I remember sitting down with him at one time, and he said to me, he said, and I've got to say this at the moment, that not all skaters, in my experience, are like this. Certainly had a lot of good skaters who I'm still in contact with, and some that you're not in contact with. But one bit of advice he said to me, he said, Simon, I've got to tell you, he said, I find coaching like holding a bird. I looked at him and I thought, I'm not sure this guy's right. And he said, yeah, like holding a bird. He said, if you hold it too tight, you'll crush it. He said, if you don't hold it tight enough, it'll fly away. He said, and excuse my language, the only thing you can guarantee is if you hold it long enough, the only thing you can guarantee is it'll shit all over you. And I never forget it. It kind of sticks in my mind. And I say that, and they're not all like that. But, the late Jack Driver said that to me, and it really is one thing that sticks in my mind. So, we do our best for the athletes, but ultimately we also know they're going to move on and have a life of their own.
Yeah, exactly. I want to bring it back to the very first point, how, skaters should do it for themselves. So what my mind goes straight to, if you're a little skater, you're a young skater, and you've got, parents that are a certain way, and if you don't do X, Y, and Z, they're not going to be happy with you. So is there any advice you could kind of give for parents to maybe be there for them in the right way and kind of help them, but don't hinder them with too much pressure?
Yeah, and it's a really, really good question and a really key point. I think, at the end of the day, it's the same thing, let them skate for themselves. There's a point where you let them skate for fun. There's a point where you just ask the parents to take a back seat, and, coaches will make decisions and they can rationalize those decisions. I guess part of a coaching structure is that, a good coaching structure is that you can justify those decisions. Maybe that's one-to-one meetings with parents. Maybe that's group meetings with parents. But, I think at the end of the day, the skaters that are skating for the parents, they don't succeed. You see it quite often. I guess my advice to parents, if they're looking for coaches, is, if you're a beginner and you're looking for coaches, watch some sessions. Let the kids take part in Learn to Skate program. Let them try multiple coaches. They'll know which one they bond with. I think at that point, the key is that, always remember at that point that coach is probably not your coach for life.
Yeah.
But it's important that it's someone that encourages them, that helps them enjoy the process, that helps them enjoy what they're trying to do. If you're an advanced skater, I think it's a little bit different then yes, you're probably looking at results of the coach you're moving to. Yes, you want the best for your child. Of course you do. Then my advice is let them go for a few weeks. Let them try. We've had skaters come to Dundee, and they've tried out for a couple of weeks, and some of them have stayed, some of them haven't. Some of them we've had to say, actually, and I remember clearly one guy, like I said to him, you're super talented, but this is not the right place for you.
Yeah.
And I think that's where you've got to be open. So, I think it's key that they trial a couple of places when you're more elite, make your decisions, speak to the coaches, and as kids, let them enjoy themselves. Just take a step back. I mean, you see football coaches, you see professional football players take their kids to the field, and you know what? They've taken a step back while other parents are shouting because they know the process. Just let it follow the process and let them come out where they come out.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. And what's really funny is you've just answered my second question before I asked it. I'm like, so I guess we can't use that one for a small clip. But that's amazing advice, Simon. That's really good. So let's finally move on to something a little bit different. Let's talk a little bit about Dundee and what came about with Dundee. How come you decided to move from Sunderland to Dundee? How did this happen and why?
Okay, so it's kind of a longish story, but let's kind of get to the key areas. I mean, Sunderland closed. At the time, we were employed by Sunderland Council. We'd gone through multiple structures, one being self-employed and one the coaches being employed. Each had their benefits. Each we learned from, and I think, if I'm being honest here, that Sunderland closed and we had 3 days notice. 3 days notice that Sunderland was closing, and Debbie and myself were in the same job. We've got 3 kids, and Sunderland's closing.
Yeah.
It took us a while to figure out the logistics. A rink close by, Whitley Bay, they helped us. They gave us ice, albeit we had to train with national athletes at 3:30 a.m. every morning because Sunderland closed, and these guys were training for nationals. But like most coaches and most skaters will tell you, you do what's absolutely needed to make sure they continue on their path. And Whitley Bay were fantastic. They helped us. Without that, our skaters wouldn't have made nationals that year. But yeah, we had 3 days. Now, in that 3 months that we were working at Whitley Bay at 3:30 a.m., I got a call from the manager at the time, who was the manager of the new facility, a guy called Simon Newman, and I knew him from previous years from skating, from shows as well. And he reached out and he said, I'm looking for people to come and front the new arena that we're opening in Dundee. And it was just by luck. It was just by chance that he reached out, and we were like, okay, we're going to do that. We've got 3 kids. We have no ice rink in Sunderland. And we were either at that point looking to move abroad, or this opportunity came out, and touch wood, it's been one of the best decisions we made as a family, and we moved to Scotland. It was a new facility. No one knew if it was going to take off. In the meantime, I was doing a driving instructor's course. I qualified as a driving instructor because we didn't know if coaching was going to be a full-time job anymore or not.
Yeah, wow.
So I became a driving instructor. I was refereeing football. I did all of these to see how things panned out, and ultimately, we are where we are. Sunderland closed, Dundee took off. Got busy, got successful.
Yeah.
Let the driving go, let the football refereeing go, and continued down the path of coaching, which is obviously what we both enjoyed doing. It just wasn't a given at the time. 2 people in the same job with no job. What do you do? So, driving was one option, and having, different possibilities. But yeah, so that's how it came about. That's how the move happened. And that's what kind of transpired in the meantime, up until obviously where we are now. Still here, still coaching, still touch wood, producing athletes.
Interesting. So a driving instructor, eh?
Yeah, driving.
I don't know what I'd rather watch, you being a driving instructor or you being a referee.
I'm not sure what I'd rather watch either, but you do what you have to do. So as I say, I mean, I started working for a national company for a while, driving. Then I had my own business driving, and then when the rink took off and it was very difficult to do both, then obviously, my heart and soul is in skating. So that was always the way I was going to go if it was an option.
Okay, so let's kind of talk about your coaching system. So you've established a coaching system where coaches collaborate rather than working individually. This cooperative approach maximizes resources, allowing athletes to benefit from the diverse knowledge base and skill sets of multiple coaches, which is clearly an effective way to develop top-level athletes. Now, I'd like to hear a little bit more of how the system was developed, why you developed it, and just the ins and outs, really. And I hope that was kind of a good explanation of what you did.
That was a very good explanation. I'm not sure I need to answer it. I think you said everything. But no, I mean, how we developed it was knowledge, experience, not just us, but other coaches involved too, and management. And we started off everyone self-employed, and we're still self-employed. as coaches. That I guess the biggest difference is right now we buy the ice like any other user group does. You know, we purchase the ice the same as the ice hockey do, the same as the curling do. You know, we purchase the ice, but we have a fantastic team. And that probably was the hardest part, getting people on board, getting people who want to work as a team, getting people who have the same vision as you, that, you know, they want to produce athletes. They want the opportunity to develop themselves as a coach, as well as developing their athletes. And so our structure really is all about not just developing the skaters, but also developing the coaches, allowing the younger coaches to come through the system, gain international experience, you know, and develop themselves as a coach. So, albeit, yes, we're all self-employed, but we work with each other's athletes. You know, maybe a third of my time at least is taken up working with other coaches' athletes. And you know, we put a structure in place that really has a good balance, I think, of group work, off-ice work, and one-to-one tuition. Because, you know, again, that comes down to experience and trial and error to a certain extent. But I do think, you know, all of those areas play a key part. So, you know, having the group work, having the one-to-one tuition, having the choreography on site, having coaches that are willing to, you know, swap students and work with each other. For me, that's you know, a massive opportunity for anyone.
Yeah, exactly. And are these the kind of systems that they're using in some of the top countries that are placing, you know, in all the top countries? Is that kind of what they're doing, do you think, or do you know?
Some, to a certain extent. I mean, I'm not saying obviously that we're perfect in what we've developed here. We're fairly successful in what we've developed here. We're constantly looking at ways to enhance that and make things better. And that's constant meetings. That's constant meetings with coaches, and, you know, looking at technique and looking at structures. And, you know, I mean, that's an ongoing thing. You know, but what I would say is one of the key areas that I see in other countries and other rinks that I've seen that have been successful is that teamwork. Is the teamwork, not one person doing everything, not one person being afraid to ask for help. We touched on that last time. You know, just the whole culture of teamwork and developing athletes along with coaches is, I find it quite unique, if I'm honest. I don't want to sing our own praises, but, you know, I find it quite unique in a way that you know, we're able to do that. You know, in other countries and other rinks who have been really successful have done a very similar thing.
Yeah, it seems like there could be a system, you know, that obviously your system that you have, but it could be packaged into something that can obviously be sold, you know, either someone goes into rinks and brings their system in there, or something, you know, to really kind of help, you know, help.
I think I'm kind of just jumping in again. I think kind of one of the key areas that we looked at, and it was actually someone that came up to me and whilst we were working in Dundee and said to me, you know, how do these elite athletes, how do they train? How do they pay? How do they? And all of a sudden, we started the discussions around that, and we were very, very fortunate that we put into place what we call Ice Dundee. And Ice Dundee is a kind of separate entity in a way, and we put that in place. And we have two parts of Ice Dundee, and I think this is a key aspect to producing, again, elite athletes, and also on the community side. So within Ice Dundee, we have the performance side, and that's based around supporting those elite athletes and the select few, and helping them finance their strength and conditioning, helping them finance their Pilates, helping them finance, you know, their training ice, everything that goes with it. So we have someone out there that works to try and, you know, get some sponsorship in that can help them and enable them to not stand on a shop floor 8 hours a day and be able to train. I think that's massive. And on the community side, we run a schools program as Ice Dundee, and, you know, we bring over 2,000 kids a year into the rink. We pay for the buses, we pay for the coaching, we pay for the ice, we pay for the tuition. I mean, everything that Ice Dundee does, bring in those, let's say 540 school kids in a week,
Yeah.
Can only be beneficial. Now, that structure took a bit of time to put in place, and we're still developing it. But being able to give that kind of assistance to people, I think is massive. Just kids at the lower, if you've got 540 a week and you retain 10 of them, it's already big.
Exactly. I
So
mean, just getting them through the door is the hard part, right?
yeah,
And that's how you'll find these diamonds. These diamonds that just
100%.
have it and they enjoy it. So
Yeah.
Is there anything else you want to touch on about Ice Dundee?
No, I mean Iceland. I mean, again, I'm talking like we have the perfect setup, and I'm not saying anything's perfect. It's a lot of hard work. But it's certainly benefited our elite athletes, because what we said in the first podcast was, not one coach can do anything.
Yeah.
And the athletes now are athletes. They're not just skaters. So you need a strength and conditioning coach. You need a choreographer. You need a Pilates coach. Whatever it is you need. And that comes at a cost. So having a structure in place where, you can get sponsors on board, where they can assist in allowing these athletes to gain those opportunities and be able to develop themselves. So, again, not that it's perfect, but it's certainly a massive part of being able to produce what we've produced over the years.
Yeah, that's great. So with the system that you've developed, was there any pushback initially? And when you were trying to develop this, for example, if some other rinks decide to try to do this, what should they be expecting to, coaches?
Yeah, I mean, I guess two questions in one, really. I guess any pushbacks? Not really any pushbacks, surprisingly enough. Questions, yes. Pushbacks, probably no. But questions, how are we going to do this? How are we going to build this? What's my role? What do I do? How do I improve myself? And I think they're all valid questions, because the coach needs to know how they're going to improve themselves.
Yeah.
If you're a great development coach that wants to be an elite coach, how do I become an elite coach? And I think that's the other thing that the system offers. It offers those coaches the opportunity to develop themselves and maybe become an elite coach. Not everyone will be, of course. So I think that's one key area. If you have coaches who are kind of pulling against you, or if you have coaches who, simply want to be the one and only, and their work, it's not going to work. They're going to stand out a mile. They're not going to survive, if I'm honest. I mean, as brutal as it is, it's a case of, if you've got a structure where it's teamwork, it's teamwork. You're not going to have a structure where you've got teamwork and you've got the odd coach who wants to do it by themselves. That's not going to work. That's kind of old school. That's mixing everything. And as harsh as it is, that's not going to be the way that it is. If people are looking to adopt the system, I'd come back to the same thing that I've said a million times. No system's perfect. I think they need to be open. I think they need to do their research. I think they need to discuss just between themselves and the management, even with the parents. The parents have a role to play as well. You need a good environment. You need to know that those people can work with each other and have the same vision. One of the biggest things we talk about, athlete and coach relationship, but also athlete and coach, is trust. Remember to trust each other. Remember those skaters did just have that one opportunity to succeed. As a coach, you'll have a skater and you'll have another skater and you'll have another skater. But those athletes, they have one opportunity to succeed. And I guess it's our job to make sure that we do everything we can as a team to allow them to develop and achieve the best that they can achieve.
No, exactly. And I was just thinking about there's an expression or a saying where you've got a group of people, and where nobody cares who gets the recognition, you achieve much more. If one person always wants to have the recognition for everything, it kind of causes animosity, and it's just tougher. And like you are the one that's getting all the recognition, Simon. So
yeah, I mean, I guess I say that to Debbie, and like if we've got athletes and I go to the competition, and we said it last time as well. Debbie's quite happy she enjoys the coaching more than she does the competition, to be honest. She's been to Olympic Games as a coach herself, but really she really enjoys the nitty-gritty of working out, why something's not working and how we get it to work. The competition, the stress of the competition. I mean, you've still got that stress. That's a whole different ball game. So, yes, I probably front some of it, but even in our own structure, we have a coach who enjoys international competition, and at the moment he's away back-to-back competitions. He loves the international events. He's gaining experience. He's away now, first event, next week the second event, and he's learning as a coach. He's gaining the opportunities he wants to be able to see that side of the sport and how best to manage that as well, and that'll only make him better as a coach. So I think it's important that everyone gets the opportunity they want. I also think it's key that people understand not everybody will be an elite coach. Some will be a fantastic development coach. Some, development coaches sometimes make more money. We know, we say it a million times. An elite coach, you lose money. You go to international events, now you can't do your lessons. Now you're not. It costs you money 9 times out of 10 to go to events. Yeah, that's par for the course, and that's one of the sacrifices. Someone at home does a fantastic job, but if they want to try and develop themselves, the system has to allow them to be able to do that.
Yeah, oh, that's great. That's good. Any more on the system? Do we think any advice for rinks that are coaches that want to start?
I think
we touched on everything, didn't we? Kind of.
Yeah. I think try it. I think discuss it. I think be open. I think throw ideas around. At the end of the day, I think the one fundamental thing is you need someone in charge. As harsh as it sounds, if you've got 5 coaches all on a level playing field, who has the final say?
Yeah, exactly.
Now you're just banging heads together. So ultimately, someone needs to have the final say. And we're lucky. We work in a facility it's got good ice. It's a great facility. We have a great relationship with the management. All the coaches have the same vision. Everyone pulls on each other's experience, and it sounds like an absolute dream, but I've had to work to get to that as well.
Oh, exactly.
It's not as plain sailing as it sounds. You go through a process to get to that point, and if it's successful, of course, you're going to have the backing of the management as well.
Yeah. How often do you meet as coaches to kind of discuss like technique or what's coming up? Do you have meetings and stuff like this?
Yeah, I mean, we have set meetings. I mean, we'll have meetings on a daily or weekly basis. Obviously, that's slightly different. That's like ad hoc, if you like, where we'll discuss things. But again, being in a system we're in, we can discuss those things on the ice as well. What do you see here? What do you think? No one's afraid to do that. Whereas in some rinks I've worked in, there is an issue around that. I don't want to ask this coach because what if this skater moves to them? And that's very old school and not really in the best interest of the athlete, in my opinion. So yeah, I think that's one kind of key area to try and avoid, if anything. But trusting each other's massive.
Yeah, trusting, and like it's so important, and just being able to collaborate with other people that have the same vision. It's so fun. It's more fun as well.
Yeah, I mean, like I say, I mean, meetings will be ad hoc. But we will also have set meetings. Let's say every 6 weeks. If people get together, discuss technique, discuss what we can do better as a structure, how we can develop things. Technique, even of Skate UK technique, how we do all of that. I think that's also essential. So everyone's kind of on the same page.
No, that's great. So yeah, that's your system. I mean, it's good. It sounds good. So we're going to move on. We don't have that much left to talk about. So let's wave a magic wand. Yeah. So let's imagine.
That's a dream. That's a dream.
Imagine you've got a magic wand. What changes would need to happen in the UK for skaters to become seriously competitive with, like, the top dogs in the world?
Yeah. Okay.
Starting from, maybe you'd have to go, right, we're going to have to start with the kids from 6, 7, 8. This is what they should be doing to get them to the point where they can go and compete in 10 years or 6 years.
I mean, let's be honest. I mean, obviously, we look in Britain, and I've got to say, there's been some massive changes over the last couple of years, and I'm their biggest critic, but there's been some big changes over the last couple of years. There's, been an increase in support to the athletes. There's been better communication between the federation and the coaches, the federation and the athletes. Key areas that, those relationships play a key role.
Yeah.
Simple as it is, if someone's talking about an athlete, include the coach. Federation doesn't just go to the athlete. And, let's be honest, it used to happen. But, certain changes over the last couple of years have really made a big difference in my feeling as a coach, to be able to respect the federation, the way that they're going, the vision that they've got, and the way that they communicate, with the entire team. I think that's key. And that's massive, like already happening. But what's needed on the big scale, I don't know. I mean, if I had that magic wand, we could wave it, I guess we'd be doing it. But, are we a million miles away if we suggest a national center? Are we a million miles away if we suggest having all your top athletes coaching together? Are we, like, you've got them training together. You've got the coaches who can coach together. They can kind of work off each other. You've got one facility where you've got all of your elite athletes. Are we a million miles away if we say that? Probably not. I know of countries where they start off and they have, let's say, 200 skaters at this level. 200 skaters then becomes 50 skaters, and you get cut. Then becomes 20 skaters. And if you make that cut, now you're in their elite. So it's a whole different ball game, a whole different at that point. So I don't think we're a million miles away if I was to suggest, let's look at a national center.
Yeah. I mean, it sounds like what your system and your vision and what you've been developing over the years, that's where you're trying to go.
Yeah. To a certain extent, yes. I think, if you look at something and you have something in your head, then that's the way you're going to go. That's the way you're going to try and push it. Is it perfect? I don't know. I mean, until you try it, I don't know. But surely if you have all of the athletes and you can cut them down to the number you want, and the athletes that you want, you're not a million miles away, surely.
Yeah, interesting. It's that, I'm sure everyone thinks about it like, what needs to happen? What needs to happen? Is it funding? Is it taking the kids?
I think funding's another one. I think funding's also a key area. I mean, if you've got someone that can solely train, I think that's a key area. If they can train, if they can focus entirely on that job as opposed to training, going to work. I mean, I remember myself, personal experience, one of my worst seasons. I worked super hard on the ice. I then went to work in a superstore, worked super hard in a superstore, went home, went to bed, repeated it again. And honestly, 110%, but it was one of my worst results because, for me, that process wasn't right. I couldn't give it the 110% I thought I was. So I do think funding where you can allow them to focus solely on that job is another area. Funding, system in place, and total support, total belief in the athlete and them in themselves, of course, but total belief in the athlete.
Yeah, that's interesting. Well, you never know. Who knows where we're going, what's going to happen, but it is amazing to talk to you, Simon. Like, I watched back the first podcast I think three. I'm on the 4th time now with Dan. You know, it's great knowledge. I
I
feel like,
don't watch it back yet. I'll wait and then.
yeah, I think I'm going to be coming. We're going to come back again at some point, maybe in a few months, because you've put some great knowledge out there. So there's one more thing I want to talk about a little bit. I want to talk about One Blades, and I want to talk about Dan Nicholson, because you know Dan Nicholson very, very well, and you know Dan did pretty much everything in the States for 20 years, and he's self-proclaimed. Hasn't really self-promoted himself since he's come back. So there's a lot of people that just have no idea what Dan is capable of, and the knowledge and technical expertise that he has of skates. So if you know him more than me. So if you want to kind of just give him a little bit of a shout out and just let people know.
Yeah, I mean, I think, as you said, I mean, Dan has an insane amount of knowledge. So, I mean, he's in every aspect of figure skating. He's obviously been involved in the blade industry and the boot industry. You name it, he's been involved in everything. And I guess one thing that Dan is he's kind of laid back in the way that he doesn't need to be the one at the forefront, but he knows what he's doing. He's got that knowledge, and to be able to develop and create new things, to be able to create equipment that will assist the athletes. And, you know, my knowledge of Dan is that, you know, it's not about him. We talk about it as a coach, but, you know, one as a coach with Dan, but also someone on the technical side and the equipment side. It's not about him. He will do whatever he can for the athlete. And if he can make equipment better for them, he'll find a way of doing it. His knowledge on the sport obviously assists his knowledge in the equipment. So, you know, what better do you want if someone's looking at developing a new blade or developing a new boot? Someone who already has the understanding of skating.
Yeah.
You know, someone who's coming in with that. Yeah, I know as a coach what I want. How can I make that happen? You know, well, Dan, for all intents and purpose, can make it happen. He has that knowledge as well on the equipment side to be able to, you know, put what he's got in his head as a coach into practice for developing equipment to then enhance the skaters' ability and performance.
Yeah, no, that's really well summed up. And now, obviously, we can't. You obviously know what we're doing, and we can't say what we're doing. But you'd say it's quite exciting, wouldn't you?
Yeah, no, I mean it is. Of course, it is, and anything, you know, there's not a lot of changes that happen in the skating world when it comes to equipment, and certainly what you guys are working on, as you say, is exciting times. And you know, as you say, if there's anyone that you want in that role, Dan would be the person you want in that role.
Yeah. All right. Enough talk about Dan. You know what he's like.
Yeah. We'll leave him for now.
Yeah, Simon, this has been phenomenal. And yeah, we kept this one under 45. We're
Perfect.
A few minutes short. So what's next? I think for us, we'll probably come up and see you in a few weeks. So then we can definitely share a beer. I'd share a beer with you on here, but I'd just sit in the toilet.
Yeah. It's not easy, is it, sitting here for this long?
Me. So yeah. So enjoy the rest of your day, Simon.
Perfect.
We'll catch up soon. And good luck with all of your trainings and your athletes coming up, because I know you're probably really, really busy now. And again, thank you so much. And it's been a pleasure.
No, thank you. I appreciate it. Thanks very much.
Take care.
Take care. Cheers. Bye.